On a cold street corner, a boy sat with his head bowed, stomach empty, and eyes heavy with tears. People passed by, glancing for a second, then turning away as if he didn't exist. His tiny hands clutched his stomach, praying for just one bite of food. That night, he believed the world had forgotten him. But then, one plate of food changed his life forever. The city was alive with lights, sounds, and movement. Cars honked, shops glowed, and families laughed as they headed home for dinner. Yet in the middle of all that life sat a boy who seemed invisible to the world. His name was Arif, only 10 years old, with tangled hair and clothes too thin for the biting cold. Arif wasn't always like this. Once, he had a small home and a mother who held his hand tightly every night before bed. But life has a cruel way of changing in an instant. When his mother passed away suddenly, his father, already struggling to survive, left one day and never returned. Since then, Arif's home became the streets, and his companions were hunger and loneliness. Every evening, as families gathered around their tables, Arif sat near a busy food stall, watching the steam rise from plates of rice and curry. His eyes followed every spoonful people ate, his small chest rising and falling as hunger gnawed at him like a sharp knife. But no one noticed him. He was just another poor child in the crowd, another face forgotten by time. He tried to work, polishing shoes, carrying small bags, even begging, but most days he earned nothing. Some people pushed him away with angry words. Others didn't even look at him, as though his existence was something shameful. Still, every night, Arif whispered the same prayer. Please, just one meal, just one kind person. He had no one left to call family, but deep inside, he held on to a fragile thread of hope that maybe, just maybe, someone would see him. That night, he sat curled up on the pavement, his empty stomach growling louder than the traffic around him. His tiny hands wrapped around his knees, and he looked up at the dark sky. Stars twinkled far away, distant and cold, just like the world around him. The night grew colder, and Arif's hunger grew unbearable. His lips trembled as he watched families pass by with steaming bags of food. A little boy around his age clutched his mother's hand, laughing as they carried fresh bread home. Arif's heart ached. He wasn't jealous. He just wished someone would hold his hand too. He gathered courage and approached a group outside a restaurant. "Excuse me, uncle. Can I have just a little food?" he whispered, his voice soft and shaking. But the man frowned, waved him away, and muttered, "Go work for it." "Don't beg here." The rejection cut deeper than hunger. Arif lowered his head and walked back to the pavement. The smell of fried bread lingered in the air, making his stomach cramp harder. As the hours passed, people kept ignoring him. Some even crossed the street to avoid him. A group of teenagers laughed as they passed by, throwing an empty soda can in his direction. Arif didn't cry. His tears had run out long ago. But inside, his heart sank lower than ever. He thought of his mother. Her gentle voice, her warm hands. She used to tell him, "No matter how hard life gets, my son, there will always be good people in this world. Don't lose faith." But tonight, sitting hungry and cold, he wondered if she had been wrong. Arif leaned against the cold wall of a shop and closed his eyes. His body was weak, his head dizzy from not eating. For a moment, he thought he might not wake up the next morning. The world had given him nothing but silence. No one cared. No one saw him, and just as he began to surrender to hopelessness, something happened. A warm hand touched his shoulder. Startled, Arif opened his eyes. A middle-aged man stood before him, holding a paper plate covered with fresh, steaming food. "Here, Beta," the man said gently. "Eat!" Arif blinked in disbelief. For a second, he thought he was dreaming. His small hand shook as he reached for the plate. On it was soft bread, rice, and lentils, the kind of meal he hadn't tasted in weeks. The man crouched down beside him. "Eat slowly. There's more if you want." His voice carried kindness, the kind that wrapped around Arif's fragile heart like a blanket. Tears blurred the boy's vision as he took his first bite. Warm food filled his empty stomach, and for the first time in days, he felt alive. He wanted to say thank you, but the words stuck in his throat. Instead, Tears rolled down his cheeks, saying everything his voice couldn't. The man watched quietly, his eyes soft with compassion. When Arif finally finished, the man handed him a bottle of water and asked, "Do you have anywhere to go tonight?" Arif shook his head. He was too used to sleeping on pavements. The man hesitated, then said, "Come with me. I'll take you to a shelter. You don't deserve to be out here." That night, Arif didn't sleep on the cold pavement. He slept on a small bed in a warm shelter with food in his belly and hope in his heart. Days turned into weeks. The man visited often, bringing food and checking on him. Slowly, Arif began to smile again. He started attending the shelter's small school, learning letters and numbers. For the first time since his mother's death, he felt like life wasn't over. One plate of food had not just filled his stomach, it had reminded him that kindness still existed. That someone, somewhere, cared enough to see him. Years later, Arif would look back on that night as the moment that saved him. The night one man's kindness turned his story from despair into hope. Sometimes it takes only one small act to change an entire life. A single plate of food gave a hungry boy hope again. When the world turns away, kindness steps in. No gift is too small when it comes from the heart. Because one simple act of kindness can change someone's life forever.